Dear fellow Earthlings, the title of my video today is Why Does Mankind Still Not Know the Vital Importance of One-Many Harmony? The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. The above quote, which I first read in the world-class bestseller In Search of Excellence, and have since seen people quoting it in many other books, is said to have been uttered by the famous novelist Fitzgerald in one of his books. The similar statement is that a person should have the courage to change things that can be changed, the breadth of mind to accept things that cannot be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish between the two. Ancient Chinese people were very wise. As early as 2,000 years ago, there were Chinese people to respond to the reality of a large number of double-edged sword problems or dilemmas in the general principles, summarized in the following yin-yang fish bagua diagram. To the above statement of first-rate intelligence on the very, very important issue of one and many, today's human beings still lack first-rate intelligence and are not able to make both one and many fully functional and bring positive results to human beings. For example, some countries are still practicing authoritarian dictatorships with a monolithic system of power, while in some democracies many people simply advocate pluralism and regard it as a positive, affirmative, and commendable word, without realizing that the chaos in human society or the anarchy in the international community today is precisely due to the inability of human beings to deal with the relationship between monism and pluralism. The basic meaning of one-many harmony. Numerous facts have shown that for any complex organic system to function harmoniously, it is necessary to realize the one-many harmony. For example, there is only one sun in the solar system, and the 9 planets revolve around it. We can imagine, if there is no sun in the solar system, or if there are 10 suns, can the operation of the solar system be as harmonious and stable as it is now? Another example is the human body, which has only one brain but has 4 limbs and 5 senses. Let us also imagine what would happen if the human body did not have a brain, or if it had several brains. By the same token, human society is a complex, huge system, and the sustainable survival of humankind requires one-many harmony, i.e., it is necessary to find and follow the majority consensus of a minimum number and retain to pluralism at the same time. Instead, we cannot just emphasize unity and eliminate plurality and creativity, as is currently the case in China, nor can we just emphasize plurality without a minimum majority consensus, as is the case in today's international community. Pluralism without basic consensus inevitably leads to social tearing and chaos. Why must the majority consensus be the minimum possible? Because if there is too much majority consensus, there are too many constraints on people, affecting individual freedom and development. There are a few questions that need to be discussed with regard to one-many harmony, one of which is, once one-many harmony is realized in the global community, will it lead to global authoritarianism and dictatorship? Many people are concerned, once a global contractual rule of law authority is established to implement the winning plan of the race to solve humanity's problems, will there be despotic dictators like Hitler, Stalin, or Mao Zedong? Our answer is no, for the following reasons. 1. The global contractual rule of law authority has been established in accordance with the multidimensional principle of separation of powers and checks and balances. For example, they are supervised and restrained by the 5th power of mankind. That is, after the global creation of the mechanism of the Olympiad of humanity's problems, an enormous force of non-negligible numbers emerges to provide oversight and correction of the global contractual rule of law authority after a majority consensus is reached on any human issue through a competition that can be held at any time. Such a mechanism would make it virtually impossible for the leaders of the global contractual rule of law authority to turn into despotic dictators. 2. One of the necessary conditions for the emergence of authoritarian dictatorships is the absolute control of news and public opinion by those in power, so that ordinary people are unable to learn the truth. Under the current circumstances, some countries can still control the internet. Once the internet information are all provided by satellites, the era of those in power controlling news and public opinion is about to pass. 3. For authoritarian dictatorships such as Hitler, Stalin, and Mao to emerge, they have to have very strong armies in their hands, and the global contractual rule of law authorities' armies are dispatched from countries all over the world and through the internet. Once the countries all over the world know that the global contractual rule of law authority is in trouble, it is immediately constrained. Question number 2. Will applying the principle of obey the majority, protect the minority to the choice of solutions to human problems and to the differences and conflicts of understanding among the countries of the world lead to the fall of society as a whole into backward thinking and behavior, such as laziness, failure to learn, and lack of enterprise? This problem can indeed arise, but they are entirely solvable if the following measures are taken. 1. Just as any person wishing to drive on the public roads must pass a written and driving skills test beforehand, anyone who wishes to obtain the right to vote in public decision-making must also pass and qualify in certain necessary examinations. 2. In order to ensure that the voters are of a relatively high caliber, at least at the present stage, it is probably desirable to adopt a representative method of voting. 3. In voting for different options for the solution of global problems, the number of representatives of the voters could be determined by the size of the inhabitable territory. 4. When a vote is taken on a particular country, race, etc., the voters of that country and race should be recused. 5. If voters participate on the basis of country, region, ethnicity, etc., a mechanism of rewards and penalties should be introduced for the performance of the voters, and in case of fraud, the number of voters of the organization should be reduced, and in case of good performance in consecutive years, the number of voters should be rewarded. One last question. What is the minimum majority consensus that humanity needs? Fundamentally, there is only one that humanity needs to live on this planet. That one is that if humanity wishes to survive sustainably, it needs at least a global contractual rule of law democratic authority to effectively implement the winning plan of the global competition on solutions to conflicts and social problems. The global contractual rule of law democratic authority would function as the equivalent of a traffic cop in a city. If a country fails to comply with a decision taken by the majority countries, the authority would be not only qualified, but also sufficiently capable to demand that the country implement it. If the country continued to fail to comply, it will be penalized and sanctioned. Therefore, the authority must fulfill the following conditions. 1. The authority must creatively implement the principles of separation of powers and checks and balances in order to always remain impartial and incorruptible. 2. The military strength of the authority should be provided by all nations. 3. The military strength of the authority must be substantially greater than that of any one nation. In order to make all nations and earthlings agree with this one from the bottom of their hearts, at least the following things must be done. 1. A friendly and cooperative pact for the peaceful coexistence of the earthlings, including 1. Through thorough discussions, debates, and competitions, make all earthlings agree that, in the long run, the principle of obey the majority, protect the minority, is the fundamental principle to maximize the benefits for all nations, all races, all religions, and all human beings. 2. Common goals to avoid as far as possible great man-made disasters, to avoid as far as possible man-made common destruction, to avoid as far as possible mutual harm, and to work together to maintain the sustainable survival of all the people of the earth so as to make life better and better. 3. Methods of achieving common goals, scientific reasoning contests. 2. It is necessary to create a research center for theory and countermeasures for sustainable human existence, with research branches in various countries around the world. 3. Creation of an Olympic Committee on Human Problems and an Olympic Mechanism on Human Problems. 4. Full study, debate, and competition on the man-made fatal problems and the closely related 5+9 issues, as well as the 9 issues behind the man-made fatal problems, to obtain a majority consensus. One last question. If mankind has a long time to live on Earth, should mankind consider choose one of the existing languages or create a new one to be used as a global lingua franca? For those who wish to join us in creating a global competition for the Human Problems Olympiad, please email fangxinghigmail.com. The next video is, do human beings have conflicts that must be fought to the death? Well, that's it for this video. Thank you all.